Good evening, folks. This is episode 2 of our Fireside Chats. And you know me, once I start chatting, I just can't hardly shut up. Anyway, I'm going to start at probably about the age of, in the neighborhood of 10. And if you recall, last week I was saying how my sister's dresses and mine were made out of feed sacks. Well, I'm going to show you some feed sack. Right here is feed sack. That's my doll blanket. And speaking of the dolls, I got this dolly in the pink from my dad and mom on my 10th Christmas. And she's a horseman doll, which didn't mean anything to me when I was that age. But I look back on it and I know something about dolls now. That was an expensive doll. But I know my folks got it on sale after Christmas the year before, because that's the way they did things. And this dolly here, and little Sassy, you're going to help me, are you? This dolly here, I got the same Christmas, and that's from my aunt and uncle. And it's kind of funny because the dolly in the pink was from my folks', and these are original dresses they've got on. And the pink one's got the original bonnet yet. But my sister found this doll that Mom and Dad had gotten me before Christmas. So I played with that dolly every time they went to town. So by the time Christmas got here, it really wasn't new to me anymore. And then my aunt and uncle came up and got me this dolly. And both of them have sleepy by eyes. That means they shut and open. But the big one cries, and it still cries. And I think it's kind of miraculous that I've still got them, because my mother went through 2 fires and I've still got these dolls. I find that amazing that they survived. Anyway, so I got this dolly on my 10th birthday, on my 10th Christmas. And a little bit about that Christmas. We kids never had, well, when it come Christmas time, my dad took us kids and we went to the pasture and cut down an evergreen. I don't know, I think they're called fir, but I'm not sure what they're called. They're Christmas trees you see in the ditches and stuff. But that was our Christmas tree. And we didn't have lights on it. Mom would once in a while buy some angel hair, but not very often. And we would wrap walnuts with foil that we got off of candies, and then we would hang the walnuts on the tree, and that was our ornaments. We kids thought it was beautiful. We didn't know anything different. Well, on my 10th Christmas, we woke up in the morning, Christmas morning. We came downstairs, and there was lights on our tree. They were bubble lights. So, every Christmas from then on, we had bubble lights on our Christmas tree. Anyway, then, and Mom and Dad had gotten them on sale the year before, on after Christmas sale. And anyhow, so bubble lights to me to this day are really, really special. because that was the Christmas lights that we had on our Christmas tree. It was bubble lights. And that was the only lights we had. And I know Max doesn't want me to talk about anything sad, but I'm sorry. My life, my childhood and my whole life wasn't all sunshine and cheer. There was some bad stuff in it. That was for my 10th Christmas. And then I turned 11 in April. And my dad died of cancer when I was 11. He died in August. And I was 11, my younger brother was 7. My older brother was 13. My older sister was 15. And then Mom's youngest child that just graduated from high school. So this dolly is really, really special to me. Not only because Mom and Dad gave it to me, but it was the last Christmas present I got from my dad. Oh, look what I got on my lap. Hi, Sassy. You gonna sit here for a minute, or you gonna be a nice kitty or not? That's probably debatable. Anyway, but isn't she a beauty now that I have her on my lap? Isn't she a beauty? I think so, but then I might be a little partial. So anyway, then after we had Christmas, when I was 11 then, we had thought she was going to jump in that buggy, but she didn't. Oh, and look at that buggy. That's an antique wicker buggy. Anyway, so then came 11, and I'd always ask I had long pigtails. And I would ask my dad every so often if I could get my hair cut. He would tell me, he called me Pats. He called my sister Betty Bets. So we were Bets and Pats to Dad. He told me, he said, well, Pats, anytime you want to move out behind the barn, you can get your hair cut. So that pretty much said to me, no, I can't get my hair cut. So anyway, my dad died in August, and we started school in September then. And Mom let me get my hair cut. And when they were cutting it, the whole time they were cutting it, she was crying. Because she thought she was betraying Daddy. Anyway. So then I go on from 11, and then we had a farm sale in March. And I don't know if I said earlier or not, but we rented, so we didn't own the farm. But Mom had the farm machinery and farm equipment, and back in those days, farmers always had their auctions in March. So we had the auction in March. And then after that, we moved to town. Now, my daddy didn't leave us anything. Because like I said, we rented. So we didn't own the farm. And he had been in the hospital all summer long and didn't have any health insurance. Didn't have any money to speak of. We had enough to live on and to get along on, but so what my mom inherited was a huge doctor bill, a hospital bill, and a funeral bill. And my mother was paying on that when I was a married woman. She was still paying on that. And the doctors told her, because I heard the doctors tell Mom, Stella, you don't have to worry about it. It's okay. You don't have to pay it. Yeah, it's my bill. I'll get it paid. She was a strong, strong, strong lady. I've always said if I ended up to be half the lady that she was, I will have succeeded in this world. So anyway, we moved to town, and like I said, we didn't have any money. Oh, I'm sure she had some, but not enough to support a family. So we had to go on what was called ADC then, Aid for Dependent Children. And my younger brother, you know, she's moving us kids from the country to town. Now that sometimes can be really a problem, because in the country, we always had something to do. We'd go out and play in the timber. There was always something to do. Well, in town, you're not that blessed. You don't have those things to do. So my younger brother started going down to Risinger's. And Risinger's in Eldora at that point in time was, he had a sale barn and ponies. And he kind of adopted Dick, my younger brother. Kenny had 3 boys, and all of a sudden he had 4 boys. And Dick was too young, he couldn't pay him anything, you know. So what he would do is he'd buy Dick school clothes. Because he'd worked for Kenny, but couldn't pay him anything because he was too young. So anyway, Kenny would buy his school clothes, which was great. And then when it come time and I got old enough, I started working. I babysat up until the time I could get an actual job. And then I had 3 jobs while I was in high school. I worked at I can't think of his name right now, the photography studio there in Eldora. And then I worked at a restaurant part-time. I worked at the photography studio part-time. And then I worked at the hospital part-time. So I was busy, and I went to school full-time. And then I detasseled when I was old enough to detassel, and that would buy my school clothes. It was a godsend, because back in those days, you made good money if you detasseled. Hard work, because they didn't have the machines then like they do now. You walked, and you pulled those tassels. Anyway. But you know, through all those trials and tribulations, I had a good childhood. My memories I have of my mother is her working in the kitchen and singing hymns while she was working. And speaking of her being on ADC, they would go around and do spot checks then in those days. And in doing those spot checks, one time they found out that she had a small radio. And they took the radio because it was a luxury. compare that to nowadays. There is no comparison. No comparison whatsoever. Anyway, but we survived. We survived. I had a good childhood. I had a wonderful mother. And I've got no complaints. No complaints at all. Well, of course, then I got old enough and I got married. And you know, folks, I think really this is probably enough for tonight. And I think I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to show you what an actual feed sack looks like. And my mother never did quilt. She had her hands full doing everything else. She didn't quilt. So this is just 2 pieces of feed sack folded in half and then tied with embroidery floss. That was her version of a quilt, which was fine. Which was fine. And now I'm going to wind it up, and I will see you next week, folks. And I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, can I be so kind as to ask you to share and to subscribe? That would help my channel, and I would really be grateful. God bless you and have a good evening.